Amy with Real Estate According to Amy, and we are diving into our Kickstart program to help you become a successful agent from the very beginning. Hope you find these videos useful. At the beginning, we're just talking about the nitty gritty, like figuring out why we're doing this, figuring out what our goals are for the year. Now we're going to take those goals and put it into an action plan. Things that are coming up are going to be things like time blocking or living by your calendar, agent finances, apps, programs that you're going to find helpful. And then we're going to actually dive into the transactions. So stay tuned. Make sure you like and subscribe. If you have any questions, you can always put it in the comments section down below. Try to keep a handle on that and answer any questions that might be there. Or if you ever want anything that you see in the videos, spreadsheets, tools, a list, whatever it might be, feel free to comment down there that you want a copy of that. I'm actually going to try to put this whole spreadsheet into the files section. So we'll see if we can do that successfully. I'm going to have my cyberbacker, Abby, take care of that for me. And if you're interested in getting your own cyberbacker, somebody who can do things like that for you, just reach out to me. I'm happy to talk with you about that as well. Super fabulous. So where we left off last time, we talked about goals. So if you didn't watch that goals video, go back and watch it, figuring out how we get to this number. So our number was $382,500. So that's our goal to thrive next year. Okay. So again, we talked about making sure that you do all of this during the last quarter of the year, the beginning of the last quarter of the year, to plan for the next year. Okay. We want to set ourselves up for success. So now we're going to hop over to our other sheet called a GPS. This is goals, priorities, strategies, right? GPS, right? A GPS guides us where we need to go. And on this one, it stands for that, as well as goals, priorities, strategies. So I take this a little further than most people do. Just a little heads up. I like to stay on top of what is my 3-year goal. Where do I want to be in 3 years? For you, it might be 5 years. Just looking down the road, where do you want to be? And you're going to put something in there. So in 3 years, I want to have, let's be a little bit cleaner than that instead of I want, but to be making $5,000 in residual income and able to go on vacation 1 week per month, working no more than 4 days per week. Max hours of, let's say I only want to work 6 times 4 would be 24 hours, 24 hours. Okay. So let's say that's my 3-year goal. So we're talking 23, 24, 25, right? So we're planning for next year. That'd be 2023. So 2024, 2025. So by the end of 2025 or by January 2026, I want to be making $5,000 in residual income and able to go on vacation 1 week per month, working no more than 4 days per week with a max hours of 24 hours per week. Okay. Everybody like that goal? Figure out your own. You may want to do that before you dive into calculating your goal. That last one, remember, we kind of touched on that, where you may want to think about, like, where do I want to be in 3 to 5 years and what's it going to take to get there? So for me, that might be like, hey, I've got to get all of our debts paid off so that we can begin investing in rental properties. Or it may mean, hey, I need to invest in rental properties, or I need to find some way to make residual income. Maybe that means profit share someplace. Maybe that means whatever that means to you. Figure out what that looks like and then back it out and figure out what steps you need to take to get there. My 2022 goal, I already figured out on calculating your goal that I need to make $382,500. So we're going to come back over here. And my 2022 goal is going to be to close, I think it was 29 transactions. Actually, I think it was 39 transactions. No, I think it was 29 transactions. Close 29 transactions for a total gross income of $382,500. Okay. Now, oops, I put a period there instead of comma. So let's fix that. If you're like, Amy, you keep talking about gross income. What do you mean by that? Again, there's no stupid questions. So feel free to ask all your questions in your comment section below so that I can answer those. But our gross income is that check that you get before any deductions are made, before our transaction coordinator's paid, before anybody's paid. What is that gross check? Now, the only caveat to this would be that would factor in your gross income would include your cap if you have a cap type system in your real estate office versus if you pay a fee or a split, then I told you to go ahead and calculate that off the average commission. So it's kind of your gross income, but it's not fully gross because gross would be adding those things back in. So this would be, but before all your business expenses are paid, before your living expenses are paid, before your taxes are paid, what do you have to make, right? So that's your gross income. Your gross commission income, your GCI or gross commission income. Your net income would be, hey, after all the fees are paid out, what did you actually make? Okay. So closed 29 transactions for a total gross income of $382,500. Now, as I've talked about before, it's not all about the money, but it is about that new dishwasher, and it is about that new car, and it is about getting debt paid off, which all take money in order to do, or it's all right. I want to go on vacation. Maybe you're like, Amy, I want to go on a really cheap vacation that doesn't cost anything. I'm going to go camp for free. Well, you still have to have food and you still have living expenses for that month. And if you don't have, or that week that you're gone, and if you don't have any income coming in, then we have to factor in like, what's it going to cost for me not to work that week, right? So whatever it's going to be, there's always something. Okay. So close 29 transactions for a gross income of $382,500, right? So we have our 3-year goal. We have our I'm going to update this to 2023 goal because it's October of 2022. So we're really planning for 2023. And then we're going to figure out what are our priorities for closing those transactions. Okay. For some people, the easiest way might be, hey, I want some listings. I want some buyers. And we're going to have the who, what, where, how, right, of my business. Okay, so that might be you. You might have a different way of breaking it down. Totally okay. You might be like in person, online, whatever, right? So there's lots of different ways to break this priorities down. But what are your priorities going to be? Underneath priorities, so we have 1, 3, and then we're going to put our strategies for those priorities. Okay. So I only have 2 lines here for strategies. So I'm going to add a couple lines. Give me just a second. Okay. So the way we used to look at this would have been like a 1, 3, 5. We have 1 goal for the year. We have 3 priorities, and we have 5 strategies. You might have more priorities. You might have 2 priorities. You don't have to stick with 3, but the average is usually about 3. Strategies, same thing. We always looked at it as you had to have 5 strategies. You don't have to have 5 strategies. You might have 6 strategies on one side and 2 strategies on another. Okay. So you don't have to feel glued in, but you just want to spend some time thinking about where you want to be this next year and how you're going to get there. Now, if I'm like, man, I've got to close 29 transactions, how many of those do I think are going to be listings? Or how many of those? So this is the easy way, right? Listings, buyers, who, what, where, when, why. Okay. Easy way to do it. Here's my example. 3-year goal, have a net income of $200,000 without being involved in daily operations of residential sales, allowing for our family to move to our property in Idaho, to include installing utilities, building a barn, and building our new home in Idaho, all while increasing my net worth to 1 million plus. Okay. That was, that's something we should revisit here in a second, but that was my 3-year goal. My 2021 goal was produce a gross income of no less than $473,100, bringing in a net income of no less than $233,150. To me, the net was more important than the gross. It wasn't so important, the number of transactions, although I think we dig into that. But what was important to me was that I walked away with a certain number at the end of the year. Okay. Didn't matter how many transactions it took to get there. This will lead to a net worth increase of no less than $518,072. plus. By the end of 2021, I'll be actively working my virtual coaching business, working to set up our family to be able to earn income remotely in preparation for our move to Idaho. And we will have septic well and electricity installed on the Idaho property. So see, my goal here, I've tied personal and business together, because if you could have a GPS for personal, you could have a GPS for business and separate them out. That gets way too complicated for me. I don't like too many spreadsheets and too many pieces of paper. I start ignoring some of them. Okay, my priorities, where I had personal or team business, I had my Idaho income, I had my broker income, and I had my coaching income. Okay, so those were my 4 priorities. I also went ahead inside of those 4 priorities and I broke down my goal into those 4 areas. So I had gross income, which was how many personal transactions and how many team transactions. I had Idaho income factored into profit share and the virtual coaching business. I had my broker income, and I had my PC coaching, which was 60,000 in gross income. Okay, that was my productivity coaching. So I broke it down into different areas. Okay, so does everybody see how that works? Yes. All right. So going back here. So the one error that I did make over here on this blank spreadsheet, well, on the one that we're filling in, is I should have put 300. This is what my coach has taught me, 382,500 plus. Yes, I have a coach. Yes, everybody should have a coach of some sort, whether I'm considered your coach because I'm helping you get started in real estate, or as you get bigger and producing more, having somebody that you're checking in with to hold you accountable. They're actually not going to hold you accountable. They're going to hold you accountable to being accountable to your goals, right? They're going to make sure you're holding yourself accountable. Okay. And I'm going to close 29 plus transactions. Okay. This is a really simple one compared to the example I just showed you. Okay. So in here, hold on, we're going to insert one row below. And then we're going to take the color out of this one. All right. And then we're going to merge. So if this was going to be my priorities, then I may want to drill it down just a little bit further, at least on 2 of the areas, listings and buyers. If I needed 29 plus transactions, what does that equate to in listings per buyers? Let's say that I'm going to be 75% 75% buyers and 25% listings. So 29 times 25% would be 7.25 listings. So we're going to put, we want 8 plus listings, and then our buyers are going to be those remainder. So we have 21 plus buyers. Okay. Makes sense to everybody? I just figured out of 29 transactions, 25% of those in my first year are going to be listings. 75 are going to be buyer transactions. Now, if you're an existing agent and you have a different spread, maybe 50, 50, 60, 40, whatever that would be, you could divide it up that way. And this does not have to be your priorities. Your priorities, again, they may be different. Okay. Now we're going to nail down strategies. How are we going to get there? So when I think about listings, how am I going to get 8 plus listings? Well, one is I'm going to have my sphere of influence. Okay, one may be, that'd be SOI. That's PHERE, sphere of influence. SOI. Okay, when you hear SOI, that's your sphere of influence. I may have leads from listings. Right? As I get a listing, I should be generating additional leads from listings. When we have a sign in a yard, if you stand out by that sign and look at all the houses that you can see from where that sign sits, somebody else who sees that, can see that sign, is going to sell their house. Your goal is to figure out which one that is and to capture them. Okay. Maybe I'm going to, let's see, we're going to talk about lead generation strategies here in order to obtain those listings. Maybe I'm going to use social media. Okay. Maybe I'm going to really dig into referrals. Maybe you belong to a group like the military, or maybe you belong to like a MOPS group, like moms of preschoolers, and you want to reach out to other moms of preschoolers in other areas and that are real estate agents and collect referrals. Okay, maybe your company has a great referral network that you can dig into to grow your referral base that way. There could be lots of ways. Okay, so referrals. And the way that we normally think, so if you're going to break your GPS down this way with the priorities being listings and buyers, and we're talking about lead gen, is we usually have 3 legs of lead gen in addition to our sphere of influence and our leads from listings. So our sphere of influence, our database, those people who know us, love us. We're going to dig more into lead gen a little bit, but those people, we should always be digging into that because that is where the money is. We should always be generating additional leads from listings. And then we have to get those initial listings. So what are we going to do that? There's 3,000 different ways. Maybe we're going to do social media referrals, and maybe we're going to do for sale by owner, or FSBO, FSBO. Okay. And then maybe from my sphere of influence, I'm going to get 3 listings, and I'm going to generate at least 1 listing. I'm going to get 1 from social media. I'm going to get 1 from a referral and 1 for sale by owner. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 7. So we need at least 1 more. I should get at least 2 leads from listings. Okay. So then when we dig into our action items, that's what we're going to dig into. Okay. But we'll get into that here in a minute. So maybe when we look at buyers, we want to break it down the same way. We have our sphere of influence, right? We have our leads from listings. We are still going to dig into social media. The font's different over here. It's really bothering me. We're just going to move on. We're going to get referrals. Maybe our lead gen methods for buyers are going to be the same as they were for listings. Totally okay. We may want to break this down differently by our priorities or transactions, right? Lead gen. How are we going to lead gen? And then we're probably not going to pick up buyers from for sale by owners, but maybe we're going to pick up buyers from open houses. Okay. There's lots of other, like I said, we're going to dive more into lead gen as we move through this Kickstart series. There's things like a farm where you're door knocking. There is cold calling. There is ads. There's all these different strategies to generate leads. Okay. And then as we look at this, maybe we need 21 buyer transactions. So maybe from our sphere of influence, we're going to get 5. Maybe leads from listings, we're going to get 4 because we're going to have at least 8 listings. So we're going to figure like we can pick up 1 buyer transaction on every other listing. Social media is maybe going to give us 2 buyers. Our referrals, maybe going to give us 3 buyers. So now we're at 10, 14. This probably isn't going to get us open houses. If you're hosting an open house every week, that's probably not realistic. Let's say we're hosting 2 open houses per month. You should be picking up 1 lead per open house on average. But let's say we only got 1 lead per open house. And so that would be 12 months. That gives us 12 leads, right? And then let's say that we're able to convert 75% of those into transactions. That would be 8 there from open houses. So now we're at 10 and 12 would be 22. Ta-da! Look at, we can take some stress off of our poor sphere of influence and say we're only going to get 4. Okay, that gives us 21 plus transactions. Okay, does everybody see how we're doing this? Pretty simple, right? Again, it can get more complicated. So as we're looking at, let's go back to my example. As we're looking here into my strategies let's look at over here, my personal team business, which was 32 plus 12. I needed to grow my database, right? Strategies, grow my database to 384 connected. I needed to define the tags in my database. I needed to clean up my database by accurately marking with captured versus connected. I needed to make sure I had all the names, addresses, phone numbers, emails. I needed to implement a touch system. So I have all these things in there for growing my database and digging into to secure my 32 personal transactions. There's more than 5 strategies here. That's totally okay. Mine is kind of more like a to-do list. than necessarily strategies, but that's how I just decided that it would work best for me. So there's no wrong or right way to do this. When the last several years, this is how I've done it. I've broken it down this way. Now the who, what, when, where, and how. Maybe this is, I need to hire a transaction coordinator. Okay, maybe there's like, you're there like, there's no way that I'm gonna get a transaction, that I'm gonna be able to close 29 plus transactions without having a transaction coordinator. And I need to have this person in place by the end of January of 2023. So there's my to-do date on that. Maybe I'm going to attend my real estate company's conference. Attend conference. And maybe that's in February. So we might go 2023. Oops, 23. It gave me February 1. Let's go to 28, 23. All right. Maybe I need to learn something specific. Maybe I need to shadow 5 agents doing houses. And I want to do this by the end of February, 28, 23, so that I have an idea of what other agents are doing to successfully run and operate an open house. Maybe I need to set up a touch system for my sphere of influence. So again, I've referenced before the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, shows you kind of the game plan of how to get there. They're going to talk about touch campaigns and what the correct number is. And generally what we recommend is a 36 touch campaign. AIGN for my database. Okay. And we're going to put in a date there as well. All right. So once you have all of your strategies on there of how you're going to reach those priorities, then we're going to dig down into your weekly action items. So this is where it transitions from what we call a GPS or 135. Again, it doesn't have to be 135 any longer, but it's a GPS to our 411. And when we talk about our 411, what that is we have a month. So we're going to break it down by month. And then we're going to break it down by weekly action items so that we know specifically what we should be doing on a daily basis to move us towards our goal. Okay. Now, I mentioned in the last session where we talked about defining your goal, we talked about the 12-week year. And what that is kind of where you reevaluate your goal on a 12-week basis. And if you think about 12 weeks, that's once a quarter. So every quarter, you're kind of reevaluating your goal. Where are we? Can we get there? Do we need to adjust it? What changes do I need to make in what I'm doing? What's working, what's not working? That's a good time to evaluate. As I've mentioned previously as well, the sales cycle is a 90-day sales cycle. And so it transitions kind of every 90 days. What we start doing today, we're going to see the benefits of in 90 days. And so if we've implemented a new strategy towards lead gen, running it through that whole 12-week period gives us time that we can reevaluate it, check our return on investment. Is it providing results? Do I need to move away from referrals because it's just not happening, and put in another leg of lead gen because I'm just not getting the return on that item? So it just gives us time to evaluate. So if we broke it down into a 12-week goal, if we had 29 transactions, for a goal of 382. So if we took that out, 29 divided by 4 would be 7.25. So we're going to say, hey, we need to close 8 transactions, right? And if we broke it down even further, if we looked at listings, we had 8 listings, we would need to close 2+ listings. Buyers are 21, which would be 5. So we're going to say 6+ buyers. And then our who, what, where, when. And we may even break it down like this, 2 transactions equaling 26. Remember, our average commission was 13,000, 26,000 plus in commissions. You could do the same thing over here with your buyers to stay focused, right? And then we're going to go here would be our January goal for the beginning of the year. However, remember, if we're setting ourselves up for success and it's October, it may be like, hey, our October goal is, or our November goal is like, hey, we need to start moving this stuff forward now so that we can start closing those transactions by January. We don't want to start implementing this stuff in January, which would be for the March, April closings. We want to start this now so that we have January closings, right? So it may be here that we're going to start this in October. Okay, and our October goal may end up being a lead gen based goal. I'll work on getting that lead gen breakdown for you if we're going to close 29 plus transactions, what that translates into. I'll work on getting that spreadsheet pulled up for you guys for another training. I'm going to write that down. We're going to go lead gen spreadsheet. You can break it down and back it up that, hey, we need to have this many conversations in order to talk to this many people, in order to set this many appointments, to get this many listing agreements signed, to create this many listings. Because if we want 8+ listings, we probably need closer to 10 or 11 listings because there's going to be some fallout in there. So we just need to figure out how to break that down. So our October goal may be like a lead gen type goal. It may be like, hey, I need to add in October, I need to add 50 people to my database, right? So it may be something as simple as that. And then what are my weekly action items? So my weekly action items is going to be connect with 15 people. And remember, we're always going to go 15 plus people. So 50 plus. It's okay if we get more. It's not okay if we get less. We're going to connect with 15 plus people who are interested in buying or selling a house in 2023. Okay, and when we put these in here, our weekly action items, we're going to start listing off some things that we need to do. We want to put those in order of importance. So they're going to be in order of priority. What needs to happen first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. And only after I've connected with 15 people who are interested in buying or selling a house in 2023, and I've added them to my database, do I get to move on to the next task. Okay, which may mean talk to 3 transaction coordinators. Okay, and this may end up being the nice thing about a computer is we can copy this and put it down here on the list, because you're like, well, I really don't need to have that in place yet, but I do need to have it in place by the end of January. So I do need to start talking with people, seeing what they do, how much they cost, what services they offer. But what's going to really drive my business forward is adding those people to the database, right? Maybe we need to figure out, we need to define where to find FSBOs, right? Because that was on my plan. And create strategy. Can't spell, it's all right though. Right, so now is going to be the prep work and the building blocks so that we can hit the ground running, and that we can already have those leads generating and working and building our pipeline for those closings. Does that make sense to everybody? Yes. All right, so this is what you're going to work through. Now every 12 weeks we're going to come back and we're going to reevaluate this goal. Okay, so my goal for the year was 8. I am at 3. What does that mean for the next 12 weeks? Do I need to adjust? Do I want to try to continue on with another 2 so I come out ahead? Am I ahead on listings but behind on buyers? Where do I need to adjust? Did I start trying to create a strategy for sale by owners and I'm finding that there's just no for sale by owners in my market, or I'm just being unsuccessful in executing that? Do I need to talk with somebody that's successfully closing for sale by owners in other areas so that I can see what strategies are working? Where do I need to build my game plan in order to have success? So that's what you're going to do every 12 weeks. Your first 12-week period, if we're starting now, is going to be January 1st. We're going to reevaluate, hey, are we on track to meet our goals for 2023? Okay, so that would be your goals, priorities, strategies, along with what we call a 411 or that 12-week goal. So we're just going to break down and put those tasks on there. And like I said, you've got to get permission to move on to the next task. Same thing up here, I would say, goes for your strategies. You kind of want to put those in order of importance as well, or order of priority, and just start at the top and work your way down. Am I working my sphere of influence? Do I have a touch campaign in place where I'm reaching out to them, that I'm systematically touching them, that I'm following up, that I'm keeping notes, that I am working my sphere of influence? Do I have that in place? And if not, then we need to get that in place before we even work on adding more people to our database. Because if we don't have a systematic way to reach them, touch them, and visit with them, then it doesn't matter that we keep adding people to our database. They're going to choose somebody else to buy or sell a house with because we aren't even reminding them that we're in the business. Okay, so there's lots of things there. We're going to dive more into all of these different things as we move through this Kickstart program. Hope you found this helpful. Again, if you have any questions, throw them in the comment section. Like, subscribe to the channel, like the video. We really appreciate you sticking on and watching. I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Have a fabulous day.